Okay, so here we are in Forge. The purpose of this tutorial is to show you how to sculpt some terrain. We do that using modifiers. These are basically geometric shapes that are used to deform the underlying terrain mesh. So to begin, we need to select Create and Terrain from the main toolbar. You'll see now on the right hand side in the options panel that we have a list of available modifiers that we can place. So I'm going to go ahead and just select Circle, and in the 2D view I'm going to left click and drag, and as you can see we have a circle modifier. It's important to note that modifiers have to be created in the 2D view. When modifiers are initially created they're unselected, so it's important that you go to the main toolbar, click select and then select the modifier. Okay, now we can start moving this modifier around and apply some basic height functions to it. Okay, to do that we need to select Modify from the main toolbar. And in the options panel on the right hand side, if you click the third icon in, Change Modifier Shapes, you notice in the 2D view that a number of control points appear around the modifier. If you select the one in the center with the arrow on it, left click and drag, that will allow you to move the modifier around in the 2D view. The other control points are just the fall off of the modifier, which is really the area of influence that the modifier has over the underlying terrain. The inner circle being total influence, the outer circle being minimum influence. You can see in the 3D view that it's possible to move these modifiers around in there and adjust the fall off as well. Okay, so now we can start applying some height functions to this modifier. Height functions are what basically allows us to actually sculpt the terrain. So if we go to the options panel on the right hand side and select the fourth icon in, you'll be presented with a drop down list of available height functions. I'm going to go ahead and select the first one, height delta, and you'll see now in the 3D view that we have a small white yellow box in the center of the modifier. This is the control point for that height function. It's important to note that when you're applying height functions you should always do so in the 3D view because you'll have no control over it in the 2D view at all. Okay, so that gives us a nice little sort of hill in the middle of our game world. But it's important to note that you can apply as many height functions to this modifier as you like. So we're going to go in there and apply a height noise modifier. Now this uses a black and white 2D noise map generated in Forge to basically denote how undulated the terrain will be. You can see there that the central arrow controls the strength of that undulation. These other two arrows at the edge there basically adjust the scale of the noise map. So it's kind of stretching it across the modifier, as you can see there. Okay, so there we have our first modifier placed, and if we're happy with that, we can go ahead and place another modifier down, slightly overlapping it. This is quite a powerful feature in Forge and allows you to create some very interesting shapes with your terrain. So it's basically just exactly the same as how we did the first one. We're adjusting the position of it, adjusting the fall off, and then going in there and applying more height functions to it to create some really interesting shapes and to make that landscape look a bit more believable. Okay, so if we go in and select the minimum height plane, that allows us to sort of drag the terrain up to a specific height without altering the terrain on the previous modifier, without interfering with that. So we'll add some height noise to it as well, just to give a little bit of interest. Okay, so there we have it. Sort of nice little hill structure in the middle of your scene. And that's really the power of Forge, is that you can create quite a large area of terrain in a very short space of time because of these easy to use tools that we have. Okay, if for any reason you decided that you don't like that modifier anymore, you don't want it there, deleting it's as simple as clicking on select in the main toolbar, selecting the modifier in the 2D view, and then just hitting delete on your keyboard. And that will get rid of it for you. As you can see there in the 3D view, it's gone, and we're left with the second modifier that we made.